The voicemail came in just before midnight on a Thursday, when the world felt half asleep and I was standing at the kitchen sink, rinsing leftover takeout containers. My phone lit up with Mom, and a pang hit my ribs, the kind of automatic fear you get from years of someone who could love you and cut you with the same breath. I let it go to voicemail. I couldn't bring myself to pick up. Then I pressed play. Her voice was steady, clipped, as if she'd practiced it. "You're out. I'm done with your attitude and your drama. Don't come home again." That was all. No goodbye. No explanation. No love. My name is Natalie. And from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Because the second those words hit my ear, something in me, something I didn't know was even awake, came alive. They'd written me off. Finally. I stood there in my tiny apartment, water dripping from my hands, and felt a calm settle over me that I hadn't known since I was a kid. "You're out."
Fine.
Noted. I wiped my hands on a dish towel and grabbed my laptop from the counter. My fingers were shaking, but not from fear, from relief. See, they thought they could cut me off after using me for years. My name on their shady side business accounts. My squeaky clean credit co-signing their dream house. My power of attorney just in case they needed help. They'd built a kingdom on my good name.
And tonight?
I was taking it back. I pulled up the documents I'd quietly gathered for months. Revocation of power of attorney. Signed. Removal from the family trust. Confirmed. Notification to the bank to freeze all accounts tied to my signature. Sent. And the final blow. The mortgage deal for their precious McMansion. The one that would have made them look like royalty at the next HOA party. Terminated.
Click. Click. Click.
I swear I could feel my ancestors cheering me on from somewhere in the ether. They wanted me out? They could have all of me gone. When I finished, I closed the laptop and finally let myself breathe. For the first time in 29 years, I was free. And when I woke up the next morning, 79 missed calls. 36 text messages, flipping between pure rage and syrupy guilt. And a voicemail from a number I didn't know. I hit play, half expecting more of their shrieking. A man's voice, tight with panic. "Miss Natalie, this is Attorney Raymond. We'd have a problem. Please call me as soon as you can." I laughed so hard I nearly choked on my cold coffee. A problem? Yeah. For once, it wasn't mine. I set the phone down, the lawyer's words still ringing in my head like a badly tuned bell. "We have a problem." They'd said that to me my entire life. Every time a bill came due, every time a secret threatened to break free, every time their pristine image cracked under its own weight. "We have a problem," which always meant I had to fix it. But this time, they could fix it themselves. I poured another cup of stale coffee, breathing in the silence of my tiny apartment. My apartment. No one had ever taken this from me. No one had ever guilted me out of it or signed it away behind my back. This was my sanctuary. Outside, the city was waking up, car horns, sirens, the low hum of a garbage truck rolling down the street. I stepped out onto the balcony, letting the air hit me, sharp and cold. I felt alive. Then I checked my phone again. More missed calls. Messages, stacking up like an avalanche. "Natalie, you're destroying us. We are your family. How could you? You'll come to regret this, mark my words." Family. They loved that word when it served them. When I paid the bills. When I signed my name. When I stood in front of their bad choices like a human shield. But the moment I stopped serving, I was drama. I was selfish. I was out.
Fine.
I was out. And it was the sweetest liberation I'd ever tasted. My phone buzzed again, another unknown number. For a second, my stomach knotted, the old fear flashing through me. But then I remembered whose name was on the accounts now.
Mine.
I answered. A woman's voice this time, clipped and professional. "Miss Natalie, this is Wellsworth and Associates. I'm afraid there has been a legal complication with the family trust. Your removal was processed without advance notice to your parents, which is being contested. We would appreciate your cooperation in—" I didn't let her finish. "Everything I did was legal," I snapped. "You can talk to my attorney." She tried to recover. Ma'am, your parents are very distressed. I laughed. A hollow, rich, exhausted laugh. They'll live. And I ended the call. Because they'd lived off me long enough. Inside, the apartment felt brighter. Warmer. Even the cheap Christmas candle flickering on my counter felt like a new beginning. They had called me a problem solver my whole life. Now, they'd have to solve their own. And I would watch every frantic move they made from the safe, quiet, perfect distance of my own peace. The rest of that morning was a blur of more calls, more threats, more pathetic attempts to claw back what they'd lost. But I had finally figured out their playbook.
They didn't want me.
They wanted my signature. They wanted my good name, my clean credit, my willingness to swallow every insult and keep performing the dutiful daughter routine. And I was done performing. I opened my laptop again, scrolling through the legal confirmations. Everything was airtight. My lawyer, a sweet older woman named Maria who'd seen 1,000 stories like mine, had triple-checked every line before I signed. Maria's words echoed in my head. Natalie, when you take your name off this, they will come for you. They will weaponize guilt. Don't let them. I'd promised her. I wouldn't let them. My email chimed. Subject: urgent. Family trust complication. I clicked it open. Miss Natalie, we have received notice from your parents disputing your withdrawal from the family trust. They allege you acted in bad faith and left them financially vulnerable. Please contact us within 24 hours to clarify your intentions, or the matter may escalate to litigation. I sat back in my chair, staring at those words. Litigation. They really thought they could sue me for refusing to bankroll their house of cards? My laugh was ugly this time, more like a bark. I thought about that night, how I'd stood on their front porch last year for Christmas, carrying a homemade pie and a stupid wish for kindness, only to have the door slammed in my face because I wouldn't forgive a $50,000 loan they refused to repay. I'd promised myself then, standing in the cold with tears freezing on my cheeks, that I would never stand on that porch again. And now I was keeping that promise. They wanted me out? I was out. Out of the trust. Out of their plans. Out of their reach. They could lawyer up all they wanted, but I wasn't paying to save them again. A knock rattled my apartment door, jolting me out of my thoughts. I peered through the peephole, heart jumping. No way. It was my mother, in her expensive winter coat, hair perfectly styled, like she'd just stepped out of some designer photo shoot. She had driven all the way here. I considered not answering, but some perverse piece of me needed to see her face. I opened the door, just a crack. She didn't waste a breath on greetings. Natalie, she snapped, eyes blazing. What have you done? I raised my chin. Exactly what you told me to do. I'm out. Her mouth fell open, like no one had ever dared say no to her before. And I stood there, solid, steady, and utterly unwilling to be their doormat one more time. Mom stood in the doorway like a queen thrown off her throne, eyes flashing in a way that used to make me shrink back and apologize for simply existing. But I didn't shrink this time. She took a step closer, chin high, voice dripping ice. You've humiliated us. Do you understand? The bank called. The house deal is dead. Your father is furious. Everyone will know. There it was. The truth. Not you've hurt us. No. That would have required honesty. What she meant was, you've made us look bad. I felt a laugh bubbling up, but I swallowed it, my jaw locked. You left me no choice, I said calmly, feeling like I'd rehearsed this line 1,000 times in my mind. You used me. Over and over. I'm done. Her mouth twisted like she'd tasted something rotten. We built everything for you, she hissed. You think you could survive without us? Without this family? I almost admired her nerve. Mom, I said, letting the word hang in the cold air. The only thing you ever built on me was debt. And I'm not carrying it anymore. She tried to step past me into my apartment, like she owned it. I blocked the doorway with my shoulder. No, I said. You don't come in here. She looked truly shocked, the way a lion might look if the gazelle suddenly turned and bit back. For a moment, I saw every Christmas, every birthday, Every moment she'd twisted my love to buy another car, remodel another bathroom, impress neighbors with the illusion of our happy family. I was done funding her illusions. Mom's hands shook.
We'll sue you, she spat.
We'll sue you for every cent. You can't just walk away. I smiled, not kindly. You go ahead. My lawyer's on speed dial. And unlike yours, she knows where all the bodies are buried. Mom's face blanched. She knew what I meant. All the shady paperwork. All the cash moved in and out to skirt taxes. My name was on half those documents, but I'd saved receipts of every single one. If they tried to burn me down, I'd torch the entire house with the truth. Her voice broke, finally, the polished queen's mask crumbling. Natalie, please. That please almost undid me. Almost. Because for a second, I saw the mother I'd wanted her to be.
The softness.
The love. But it was a trick.
I knew that now.
I took a breath, heart steady. Go home, Mom. She blinked, stunned. Go home, I repeated, and figure out how to pay for yourself. And then, with a gentleness I didn't feel, I shut the door in her face. For the first time in my entire life, I realized I wasn't scared of her anymore. I stood on the other side of the door, my heartbeat pounding like a war drum in my ears. For a long minute, I couldn't move. I just stared at the cheap apartment doorknob, half expecting it to twist, to rattle, for her to pound her fist against it and demand to be let in. But she didn't. Through the peephole, I watched her retreat down the hallway, shoulders hunched for the first time in my memory. She looked small, and I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. I went back to my couch and sank down into it, feeling every bone in my body exhale. They had trained me so well. Trained me to jump at the first sign of disapproval. Trained me to fix every crisis, no matter how they caused it. Trained me to measure my worth in how useful I was to them.
And now?
I was unlearning. My phone buzzed again, this time a new number. I answered, expecting another lawyer. Instead, it was Maria, my attorney. Natalie, she began gently, I heard from their firm. They're threatening to freeze assets and sue you for breach of family trust. I snorted. Let them try. Maria chuckled, a warm, protective sound that steadied me. That's what I told them. Silence stretched between us. How are you holding up? She asked. It was such a simple question, but it split me open. I swallowed the sudden burn in my throat. I'm okay, I whispered. For the first time, maybe ever. Maria didn't rush to fill the silence. She let it hang, respectful. Then, gently. You know they'll keep coming, Natalie. They will not let this go easily. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. I know. But I'm not backing down. Not again. We went over the paperwork for the 1000th time. Maria reassured me every signature, every notarized letter, every legal motion was bulletproof. When we finally hung up, I let out a long, shaking breath. My phone lit up one more time from my sister. You're heartless. I hope you're happy. We might lose everything. I closed my eyes and held the phone to my chest. They still didn't get it. I had already lost everything in that house. Years of being belittled, used, controlled, piece by piece, they had stripped me of every sense of belonging until I was nothing but a walking credit score. Now they were the ones who would feel that emptiness. And maybe, just maybe, they'd finally understand what it was like to be left out in the cold. I stood, grabbed my coat, and stepped out into the winter air. For once, the chill didn't feel like punishment. It felt like freedom. I wandered the block for a while, letting the crisp wind sting my cheeks and fill my lungs. Every exhale felt like a prayer, a promise to myself. I will never go back. I will never let them do this again. The city was lit up for the holidays, shop windows glowing, strangers carrying wrapped gifts, the scent of cinnamon and coffee drifting from a nearby bakery. It should have made me feel lonely, but it didn't. It made me feel new. I passed a florist, its window crowded with poinsettias, and on a strange whim, I went in and bought one, a brilliant, red-leaved bloom. It felt decadent to spend money on something beautiful just for me. At home, I set the poinsettia on the kitchen table, then scrolled through the missed messages still waiting on my phone. We trusted you. Your father is beside himself. How dare you ruin Christmas like this? Ruin Christmas. I shook my head, a humorless laugh catching in my throat. As if Christmas had ever been mine to ruin. Every year, it was the same. I was the one buying presents with my bonus because they overspent. I was the one cooking the meal when Mom's catering fell through. I was the one smiling through their gossip, their snide comments about my job, my life, my choices. Every Christmas felt like a hostage situation where I traded my peace for a crumb of belonging. Not this year. I stood by the window, watching flakes of snow start to drift down again, soft and silent. It hit me then. They might actually lose the house. The trust was too tangled to survive without my name stabilizing it, and the bank had no reason to show them mercy now. For a moment, I imagined their voices, their horror, the way they'd scramble to blame anyone but themselves. It should have made me guilty. But it didn't. It made me feel just because I had warned them so many times. I had begged them to stop taking more than they could pay back. I had pleaded with them to leave my name out of their games. They hadn't listened.
And now?
Now the bill was due. My phone buzzed again. One final message from Mom. We will never forgive you for this. I smiled, tracing the edge of the poinsettia's bright leaves. Noted, I whispered, as if she could hear me. And I meant it, because I hadn't done this for their forgiveness. I'd done it for my own. By the next afternoon, the storm I'd set off was in full swing. My lawyer forwarded me a formal notice. The bank had frozen the entire trust, pending investigation. My parents would have no access to the accounts until they proved they could shoulder the debt on their own. The house deal was gone, ashes on the wind. I sat on my couch, the poinsettia glowing bright against the winter light, reading through the official words with a strange sense of calm. They had called me the destroyer, the traitor, the problem. But I wasn't the one who built a house on sand.
They had.
They thought loyalty meant I'd follow them straight into ruin, my arms outstretched to soften every fall. Not anymore. My phone rang, breaking the quiet. This time it was a local number, no mask, no block line. A lawyer's voice again, tight and clipped. Miss Natalie, your parents' legal team is demanding you appear for mediation. I smiled, stretching my legs out on the couch. No, thank you. The lawyer hesitated. They're very upset. I almost laughed. Tell them to get in line. I hung up, dropped the phone on the cushion beside me, and closed my eyes for a long moment. A part of me was still raw, still hurt. I couldn't lie to myself about that. There were memories I'd never get back, birthday parties turned to arguments, Mother's Day brunches where I'd been told to try harder, family photos where I'd been cropped in on the edge like an afterthought. I had poured so much love into them, so much of myself, waiting for something real in return. But they had taken it again and again and called it normal. No more. I opened my eyes, looking around at my quiet apartment. The lamp I had picked out alone, the scent of cinnamon from the candle I bought with my own paycheck, the silly thrift store mug on my table. All mine. No one could repossess my peace. No one could foreclosure my boundaries. No one could evict me from my own worth. They could throw their tantrums, hire their lawyers, gather the entire extended family to shame me. I was unmovable now. For the first time in my life, their chaos couldn't reach me. And that was the kind of freedom I'd never put a price tag on. They say the holidays are supposed to bring people together. Maybe they do, for families who know how to love without strings attached, who give without expecting a blood sacrifice in return. But mine had shown me exactly what they valued. It was never me. It was what I could provide, what I could sign, what I could fix. So I let them burn. The final paperwork from Maria arrived on New Year's Eve.
Clean.
Irrevocable. My name severed. Every loophole closed. Every joint account erased from my credit report. It felt like a holy moment, seeing those signatures. Like baptizing myself in something pure, after wading through their poison my whole life. My phone still buzzed, even that night. Angry texts, then guilt-ridden ones, the pendulum swinging back and forth until I wondered if they even heard themselves anymore. We can't keep the house without you. The neighbors are asking questions. You'll be alone forever, Natalie. I read each line with a sense of calm that bordered on supernatural. Alone? I had never felt less alone than in that moment. I had myself. I had my own peace. I had the knowledge that I could build something honest, something true, something free of their corruption. The fireworks started downtown, distant cracks and pops breaking through the night. I watched them from my window, poinsettia on the sill, its leaves glowing red under the strobe of the city lights. And I realized I didn't need their house, didn't need their trust, didn't need their holiday table with forced smiles and thinly veiled insults. I could build my own home, in my own way, brick by brick, boundary by boundary, with hands that no longer shook every time someone raised their voice. My phone buzzed one last time. A final text from Dad. Congratulations. You've destroyed everything. I whispered to the window. The city, the world.
No.
I finally saved myself. And then I turned off my phone, leaving their noise in the dark where it belonged. The new year was about to begin, and for the first time ever, I was stepping into it clean. No more secrets. No more signatures. No more debts I didn't choose.
Just me.
Unapologetic. Unbreakable. Unbought. I raised a toast to no one but myself, a silent vow that I would never again trade my peace for a place at a table that demanded I starve to keep them fed. This was my story now, and I would write it however I pleased.